All right, it is 5:02. We are going to reconvene. The next bill that we'll hear is Bill LO 21-0012, Baltimore City Fire Department, EMT firefighter pre-employment screening and hiring process, for the purpose of requesting the fire chief and their designee to present information on the overall recruitment, pre-employment screening, and hiring process for the EMT firefighter application cycle that began in 2020, but was postponed due to COVID-19. This oversight hearing is mandated in Article 9, Section 1-9, reporting requirements of the Baltimore City Code. This bill was introduced on July 19th, 2021, and it was sponsored by myself, Councilmember Mark Conway. With that, we'll just jump into it. I want to turn it over to Fire Chief Ford for any reports or updates.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, should we start right into it, or are you going to ask questions? I'm sorry, forgive me for not being, because this is one of the new meetings we've done, one of the first ones we've done like this.
If you could give us a brief overview,
Very
just remind everybody, and I want to ask that folks, for transparency and just showing that you're actually paying attention, please turn on your cameras if you're able to do so. I think it's important to the citizens of Baltimore that we show up all the way.
Yep. So, Mr. Chair and committee members, we've been asked to bring information pertaining to our hiring process and to bring updates, even modifications we may have made in order to give individuals more opportunity to join the fire department. So I'm going to go to Captain Robinson to begin talking about some of the processes and some of the things we've started putting in place from the beginning. Captain Robinson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief Ford. What I would like to do is defer to Brandy Richmond, our acting HR director. This time she has the initial report of the process, and then I will supplement any kind of details or data that she requires.
Okay.
Brandy?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So to begin, we formed a diverse group of committee members. 35% of us were women to handle the EMT firefighter recruitment process. The marketing campaign entitled "Are You Ready?" was launched and created by our Public Information Officer, Blair Adams, in coordination with the kickoff of the recruitment committee's Boots on the Ground campaign that took place between February 18, 2020, until the state of the emergency was declared on March 17th. There were 119 planned and pop-up site visits that we were able to complete before the state of emergency. 4 recruitment videos were created. 2 specifically featured women in the department. 2 featured diverse groups of employees. Each of the videos were posted on the fire department social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The videos were shown on Charm TV and shared with media outlets and community partners. Blair, can you talk a little bit about the marketing strategy?
Sure. Thank you, Brandy, and good afternoon, Councilman Conway and Councilman Burnett, and good afternoon to everyone. So the recruiting approach and strategy that we took for the EMT.
Oh, you know what, Blair, you kind of going.
Hello?
You know, you're going in and out a little bit.
Your connection is, I think, unstable.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I'll move forward. Forward. Thank you, Blair.
Right here.
Okay. Oh, good.
Poor Wi-Fi, sorry. And I see myself frozen on the screen now in my office.
Thank you.
So pretty much the recruiting approach and strategy that we took for the EMT firefighter positions was tailored to meet the needs of the community, and particularly to those who are interested in joining the department. And so for many years, joining the fire department has been one of the most sought out careers that people wanted to be a part of. Everyone wanted to be a firefighter. And so when recruiting for the EMT and firefighter position, we pretty much led with the marketing campaign or theme, really, "Are you ready?" And we were trying to gear up the community to figure out if they were in fact ready to finally take advantage of this opportunity that they have been waiting for. So with that, we highlighted a diverse group of people within the department. We went from highlighting women going beyond their career and their service as an EMT or firefighter or a paramedic in the department, but we really dove into their life and what that looks like outside of the department, because for so long, work overshadowed the person and who the firefighter was. So our recruitment materials and our events, it was pretty robust, and we were very strategic in how we did so. So we printed a lot of graphic materials that we dispersed throughout the community, just throughout our neighborhood, throughout schools, throughout our anchoring organizations, anywhere and everywhere you can think of where we would reach our targeted candidate that we were interested in getting. So we went to the newspaper, we went to the radio, we went to our local news outlets, we put it on our fire department website, we put it on all of our social media platforms. It was sent to our council members, our delegates, all of our elected officials, the mayor's office, shared with our community partners, our key stakeholders. So we used every single method and way that we possibly could to make sure that the word got out that we were in fact hiring and trying to see if those who wanted to join the department, if they were ready.
Thank you, Blair. Also, an incident command center for the recruitment committee was set up and headed by Chief Dante Stewart. A minimum of 3 teams traveled to every city council district throughout Baltimore on a daily basis, passing out recruitment information with laptops and tablets to allow citizens to apply on site. Chief Stewart, can you talk a little bit about the incident command center setup? Chief Stewart, you there?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Deputy Chief Dante Stewart, working operations. Was tasked with assisting Fire Department HR with our recruitment process last year, and we just went about it in a very aggressive manner as far as reaching out to many people as we could, especially in the communities. Went to the high schools, community colleges, any place there was a gathering that we could think of. Boom, we blasted it. I even sent the members out on the subway system to go up and down metro stations to catch people on the platform. Just taking advantage of every opportunity that was presented towards us.
All right. Thank you, Chief Stewart. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Were you finished? I'm sorry.
As far as the incident command system structure, just basically just covering every basis and make sure we had a structured and strategic plan to put this, make this recruitment process a success. Again, the pandemic kind of stopped everything, but kind of looking forward to seeing exactly how we were going to progress with that recruitment process, and also gives us a kind of a blueprint of how to proceed with future recruitment processes. So that's pretty much where we're at with that.
Thank you, Chief Stewart. As Chief Stewart stated, we visited major transit hubs, subways, rail stations, and bus stops. We visited women and family-centered organizations, high schools, Madame and Mall, LGBTQ-centered organizations, community centers, colleges. We also partnered with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development sites to put on events. We visited religious organizations and union halls. We also placed banners strategically throughout the city. We also opened up firehouses, allowing candidates to apply to address the digital divide. Next, I'll talk about some of the things that we did to overcome barriers to employment, with barriers affecting fire service recruitment in the city of Baltimore. As I stated, we had a diverse group of committee members. Again, 35% were women. Also, 50% of them were Baltimore City residents. We looked at every exam component. For the written examination, we're working closely with DHR as well as the test vendor to ensure the focus of the test is interpersonal competencies, teamwork, customer service, reliability, and reading comprehension. No questions are asked that require prior knowledge of firefighting skills or ability. The reading level for the overall exam is the 8th grade, with a few reading passages at the 10th grade level. Regarding the physical ability performance test, a video was developed showing diverse members of the BCFD completing the required station of the test, as well as exercises recruits can do at home in order to enhance fitness to pass the test. There's also a plan to enhance the training and educational opportunities about what is necessary to pass the PAT, physical performance test, because this is where we lost a great deal of our female candidates during the last testing process. A greater amount of time between the distribution of training materials and the actual physical test will be allowed to give candidates more of an opportunity to enhance their fitness levels. Also, more weight will be placed on the interview as opposed to the written exam score, because studies have shown that placing more weight on the interview decreases the chances of adverse impact for certain groups. Regarding the interviews, the interview panel will consist of members of the Baltimore City community. There's a town hall meeting scheduled for August the 19th. Almost 500 citizens have signed up to assist. 450 of those have participated in a past recruitment. Regarding the digital divide, again, to bridge the gulf between Baltimore City residents who readily have access to computers and Wi-Fi and those who do not, the recruitment committee traveled on foot, or feet on the street, if you will, throughout Baltimore City, again, with laptops and tablets to enable residents to apply. Again, we went to major hubs and subways, including the malls. You will see from, I'm sorry.
Sorry, and Brandy, and one of the things also, Councilman Conway and Councilman Burnett, to Brandy's point when she said the interview consists of our panel that's full with our community members. One of the things that Chief Ford does, and under his leadership, he uses our community members or our key stakeholders to participate as panel assessors. In fact, last week we started sending out invitations for them to join Chief Ford for a virtual roundtable. And that roundtable is for current panel assessors and prospective panel inspectors. So we're trying to garner assessors, I'm sorry, we're trying to get more participants from the community to engage in these interviews where they have an opportunity to interview our EMT and our firefighters as they come into the department. So again, we started sending that information out last week, and we're hosting a roundtable on the 19th of this month.
Thank you, Blair. And also, as you'll see with the analytics, just under 1% of the entire applicant pool did not meet the minimum qualifications, which is a testament to the marketing campaign and the work of the recruitment committee. That is a great percentage for any recruitment, let alone a firefighter recruitment. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It sounds like you guys have been working incredibly hard to make sure that we get the interest that we know we need to have a diverse and robust application class. I want to open up questions to the committee. I know I have a couple. So I'll start off with my first. So I know in 2015, during that recruitment cycle, we had a couple of issues with candidates that were unable or didn't have a driver's license to upload, which prevented some folks from applying. Is that something that we've rectified, and or are we still requiring a driver's license for that pre-application process? And have we fixed that issue?
Yes, we're still requiring it, and we tackled that issue by literally we gave candidates the ability to drop off their driver's license. They literally were able to come to the firehouses, and their documents were scanned into the system. They were able to go to DHR, and their documents were scanned through into the system. So we really addressed that issue. And again, it's reflected by the fact that only 136 people were screened out of the process out of 2,994 candidates.
And I noted that we had a pretty good turnout. So with regard to participating in that written test, what factors did we use to determine whether or not a candidate was eligible for the written test?
So we looked at whether or not they met the minimum requirements. You had to be at least 18. You had to have a high school diploma or a GED, and you had to have a driver's license. Those were the minimum qualifications.
Got it. Thank you. I'll open up the floor to questions from other members.
Okay.
Councilman Burnett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief Ford, and your team for the very helpful presentation so far. It's been really good. Really explaining in a lot of detail the work that you're doing and the effort being put in to recruit a more diverse set of applicants into the Baltimore City Fire Department, which is something we've been talking a lot about in this committee this term. So it is encouraging to hear. The first question I had was I guess the process itself can still be lengthy. I know at one point it was about a 15-month cycle. Can you explain what are the next phases of the pre-employment screening process? When are they scheduled to take place? And I guess what is being done to reduce that window of time that an applicant would go from applying to potentially being hired?
Okay, well, so we were affected by COVID, we all know, this year. So the next phase of the process, again, is for them to take the written exam. The written exam is going to take place over a 3-day period at the Baltimore Convention Center. And the dates are scheduled for August the 31st, September the 1st, and September the 2nd. So after that, the exams are going to be scored by the test vendor. That will take a few weeks. We'll also have to audit the scores that we receive from the test vendor. And Captain Robinson, can you speak about when the PAT will be scheduled in relation to when we receive the scores from the test vendor?
Sure. Thank you, Brandy. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. What we plan to do this time is, as you know, it's anytime you go through repeat something in life, you grow and you progress and you improve. And that's what we've done since 2009, actually 2007. What we're going to do this time is try to expedite the process by keeping the applicants engaged throughout the entire process and not just having them come in and do the written and then not reaching out to them again until we get the test scores to find out who passes or not. So what we're going to do is actually engage the applicants or the candidates as they're leaving the convention center. Then we'll have a QR code. They can scan that. We also have a flyer to give them so they can get more information on what the physical ability test entails. And through Chief Ford's leadership, they will also be able to go out to the fire academy and practice the actual physical ability test that they will take. What we've learned is there are unfortunately time constraints on some of these aspects of the hiring phase, but we can actually be a little bit more progressive and be more proactive. We don't plan, and it will not be a 15-month process this time. We do plan on having first class within 6 to 8 months, if not sooner.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to take credit for some of the things that we're doing, but a lot of them come from the members, like the individuals you're talking to, as well as the Fire EMS committee we put together, and we put together a cross section of members in order to literally give us advice and recommendations on things that we're doing and mistakes we're making, as well as an organization called the Phoenix Organization, which is a sub-organization to Women in the Fire Service, which is a national organization. So they're giving us perspective in order to make sure we're more open-minded about the processes we're putting in place.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, are you doing 1 or 2 questions this round?
You can have your second question. Go for it.
Thank you. So just a quick follow-up on that. How much notice is given to applicants about the test dates? How far in advance are they given notice so that they make sure they can take time off from work? And are there makeup dates if for whatever reason, not whatever reason, but if they have a legitimate reason of which that they can't be there? We know in COVID that may be childcare or other issues. Are there makeup dates that could be made available to them so that they don't have to go through the entire process again?
So per civil service rules, candidates must be notified a minimum of 10 days prior to any assessment. And we do have DHR online who could speak more about that, on whether or not there were any makeup days. To my knowledge, there aren't any yet. So I'll let DHR speak about that.
Sure. Hey, this is Joanne Ashton, Chief of Shared Services and Recruitment in Department of Human Resources. As Brandy mentioned, typically with civil service rules, it is a 10-day for notice, though this year we actually are going to give people a 15-day notice, send those out this coming Friday so that people will have that additional time to be able to address, like you said, getting off of work or having to deal with any of their childcare issues. Unfortunately, because of the time constraints and how we are trying to get this class in and get people into the program and hired, we are actually going to have another testing period next year in 2022, around the same time, to allow extra people to come in and, if they weren't able to meet it this year, we just don't have time to allow for makeups to happen.
Chair, I'll hold my other questions for the next round.
Sure. Any other questions from the committee before we come back with the second round? Councilman Glover.
It's not really, thank you, Mr. Chair, but it's not really a comment or any questions, anything. I just want to, well, it actually is like a comment, just to commend you guys on your efforts on getting out the message, because, even the emails you guys will send me in reference to the flyer for recruitment, we were able to put those flyers at those community associations. I do know that some of the members of those community associations did apply for those positions. So again, I just want to say thank you for your efforts on getting the message out to the people and utilizing our office, the city council, to help with recruitment. So I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Glover. Any other questions from committee members before we circle back for round two of questions? I have one. All right, I'll jump in with my question. So sort of piggybacking on Councilman Burnett's question, in 2015, during the pre-employment screening process, one of the barriers was that sometimes the email responses went to folks' spam folder. So I was curious, how many forms of communication did we use? What types of forms of communication did we use to make sure that we got back to folks so that they were notified that they were eligible for the test?
So for one, I would like to state that we specifically noted on the announcement that individuals were to check their spam folders as well. We couldn't state that enough. Anytime anyone called, the first thing we say, did you check your spam folder? Check your spam folder. But we specifically indicated it on the announcement for individuals to check their spam folders because most of the communication, 99% is through email. I'll state, I'll state that much. I'll let DHR jump in if they have anything else to add, but they were specifically told to check their email as well as their spam folders because they are still responsible for mail that comes to their spam folder because it's still their email.
Yeah, so we'd also like to add, Brandy, is that what we've realized too is that a lot of applicants actually only set up that email address for the application time for the period itself, and then either forgot the password or forgot they even had an email. So this year we're utilizing social media. Blair is going to start to blast out by way of social media that the test is coming up, and for everyone to check, anyone that's applied to check their email. What we're also going to do is blast out messages through delivery a text message through Google Voice, as well as other text message platforms where we can get those out, because we do realize that nowadays most people do communicate by way of text message. So there's multiple ways besides the email, but we also do text message and social media. So hopefully we'll have a better turnout. Last time was about 64% show rate to the written. We're trying to do much better than that this time.
Yeah, but
And
Mr. Chair,
Wayne, can I add also, I'm sorry, Chief Ford, we also did communicate with the group to be able to try to have had this testing earlier this year. Again, due to COVID, unfortunately, we weren't able to do so. So we've had some communications with them and responses. We've been getting phone calls, whether in DHR or in the fire department, people going to the fire station, hey, I got notice, thinking that the test was right then. And I think that was in March. But of course, unfortunately, again, with working out logistics and things due to the pandemic, we had to slow up our ability to schedule that.
Yeah, I think I understand where you guys are coming from. I can tell you I never check my spam folder. So
You're missing work emails too, I'm sure.
I wonder, could we perhaps explore mass texting or something like that once we've locked down the list of folks? There may be other opportunities that are low cost or no cost that we can explore. Just to throw that out there as a suggestion.
I appreciate that because we'll be sending out the notices this Friday, and I'll make sure my team is aware of that. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
We are sending that out by way of 2 different platforms by mass text message as well.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question, and I wanted to ask about staffing more broadly, and maybe this is a question for the chief. So in the July 30th, 2019 Labor Committee meeting, you stated that the department is required to maintain a 5% or less vacancy rate for fire suppression and emergency medical services. Do you think that 5% requirement is still effective in the current MOU? And can you provide us with a current situation where we are with vacancies?
Yeah. The 5% is based upon the MOU, and the 5% in perspective of the MOU is as long as we stay below that 5%, it gives us more latitude in managing the staffing and moving people around. Once it goes above 5%, then we lose certain capabilities by contract to have control over some of the staffing where they're at. I think right now, and I hate to quote, I think we're around 8% vacancy right now. Captain Robinson, you'd know more specifically than I would.
Yes, sir. We're currently at 6.6% for suppression, 10.5% for EMS, a combined 7.4% vacancy rate.
Yeah. So with that being said, I should point out that yes, it's higher than what we've done in about a 3-year period during the time I've been here, because we were very aggressive about the hiring. Department of Finance allowed us to double fill certain positions, which actually helped us push the vacancy rate down. You have to understand that, you have to remember, we also have people in recruit school during all these times, so people aren't necessarily always out there riding. But one of the things I'm trying to I'd like to point out rather is that our neighbors are having about the same vacancy rate we are greater, quite frankly. Nationally, as I talk to other metro fire chiefs, they are having the same vacancy rate. I think I've heard everything from 0% to almost 12%. And EMS in particular, because of COVID and people, the school, the community colleges and other organizations haven't been able to have classes or send people through clinicals as they've normally done. They're not turning out students. So it's a challenge throughout the country. It's certainly a challenge locally, but we're aggressively trying to make changes and trying to continue to stay ahead of it as best we can.
Thank you for explaining that. And I think that's, of course, why this effort, making sure we do everything we can to hire and hire a diverse force, is going to be that much more important. So, yeah, just glad we're being able to have this conversation, and thank you for being transparent on where we are with that.
Mr. Chair, can I make one quick point?
Sure.
I've got to point out we do have a class graduating. Captain Robinson, when is that class graduating?
I'm not sure the exact date, Chief. I believe Chief Shallow.
Chief Shallow on the line. Chief Shallow's on. Okay. We have a class graduating Tuesday. Chief Shallow, we have a class in right now as well.
Yes, we have 11 EMS personnel, EMTs and paramedics.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Glad to hear it. Oh, that's not good. With that, any additional questions from the committee before we move on?
There is a looking through, sir.
I don't know if DGS is on the line, but we have a leak in chambers. So we'll make sure to get that reported up. With no additional questions, we are going to
I did, Mr.
recess. Oh, I'm
Mr. Chair, I
sorry.
did actually. Sorry.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I missed you. Councilman Burnett, please go for it.
Yeah, just quickly, with the concerns obviously that have been raised about COVID and sort of the residual impacts that we know exist around being able to take off for work or childcare. Has there been conversations about keeping the process just open, similar to what the Baltimore Police Department does, where there's just a constant hiring process?
We're currently doing that quasi with EMTs and paramedics. The position, I think, and staff can correct me on this, we have the position open for so many days. It closes, but it opens right back up because we can't, I mean, the process is, you know, it's unable to continuously keep it open, but for all practical purposes, it's continuously open. We receive so many applications for firefighter, EMT firefighter, that we don't have the same challenges we might have anywhere else.
Thank you. And just a broader question for you, Chief Ford. It was mentioned that there's obviously challenges with recruiting, or with the staffing levels at 8% vacant right now. Is there a impact that you're seeing on response times or ability to provide service to the residents of Baltimore?
Chief Ford, you.
We're not having, it is an issue that we're dealing with. I'd be misleading if I said that wasn't a fact, but that is not a great factor we have in respects to staffing levels. We have other issues that wind up being on the front burner with problems. Case in point, we have an excess of 911 calls that are not emergency calls, and we have to send people to those calls. That saps a lot of our resources. We also have a reasonable absenteeism rate of people calling out. That saps our resources. So yeah, right now, currently, we're actually running. We increased the number of 24-hour ambulances from what we've done before. So we're proactively or actively trying to be agile to adjust to our contemporary circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chief Ford, can you give me an example of a call, just so I can wrap my head around it? Maybe I'm a little thick-headed. What's an example of a call that you guys might get called to that's not an emergency but happens frequently?
Okay, Chief Shiloh, because you've been out in the field recently, I'll let you. I've got some, but I'll let you throw some out.
A toothache. That we've had calls for that. Somebody who falls, can't get back up. That's an assistant. That's pretty easy to handle. Colds, minor injuries, small lacerations that you could take to a clinic and have stitched up. Fingers, very minor injuries and minor illnesses, and they're everyday occurrences. There's also citizens that will call in for people they may find laying on the street, which will tie up resources for quite a long time. I could go on forever and tell you about the minor calls. We probably get more of them than we do serious calls.
There are very, very minor are issues that you would think are joking issues that we talk about that we're called for, or very minor issues. What we're trying to get across to people's minds is that 911 is an emergency call. It's something that's well beyond your capabilities to handle. and then we send our troops in there to try to take care of the circumstance. Things that you could take care of yourself by wrapping your finger, by getting an Uber, or asking a neighbor, or getting on the bus literally and going to the hospital, because your life is not in danger between those two times. That's what we're trying to encourage people to do, because we just don't. We've increased ambulances trying to keep up with the call volume. That's not the best way of doing it, because we've continuously done that. So right now we're looking at other ways to navigate those circumstances. So just about anything you could think people call us for, they do. Use your imagination, and I'm not exaggerating.
I'm glad I asked, because that's not what I was thinking. um, um, with that, any additional questions from the committee before we go into recess? Seeing no questions from the committee, we're going to go into recess for another. We'll do 2 minutes. We'll start again at 5:42 with the police overtime hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.